Hi, my name's Howard Bynder. I am the dev behind Odlay Token, and in this video you're going to get to know me a little bit more in terms of what I believe, everything. I'll talk a little bit about my upbringing in terms of like a few stories that kind of tell you how I was raised, and just so you can kind of get to know an idea of who I am, and you can make your own judgment call about everything from my character to, whether or not you want to be a part of this project, or if this is even a project that you want to take part in. So I'll start with a story of when I was young. It was an early memory. I think I was 4 or 5, and it was basically 1990, I believe, and I was on the East Coast at a family friend's house, and I was playing my Game Boy with this kid who was celebrating the holidays with us, with our family and my dad's family friends. And my mother and my father, they came to me and they said, Howard, we want you to, give this kid your Game Boy. And I remember as a kid, I was like, well, why am I giving my Game Boy away? Why don't his parents just buy one? And I said that to them because I like this. This is my Game Boy. I'm like 5. You're supposed to you're supposed to be selfish when you're 5, right? And they wanted me to give it away. And they said, well, his parents, they can't afford it. And they were immigrants that had just come here from fleeing the Soviet Union that right after it had collapsed. So this was 1990. So right after, it was close to the time the Berlin Wall fell. And my parents said, and also if you give him your Game Boy, we'll buy you a Game Gear. And I was like, well, why didn't you just lead with that? I mean, I didn't say that when I was a kid, but I'm just, in retrospect, it's kind of, I was like, oh yeah, I'm trading this Game Boy for a Game Gear. I'll do that all day. Okay, yeah, what, just give it to him? I remember when they explained that to me, that he didn't have anything and his parents couldn't afford it. And I remember I remember the kid didn't speak English that well, if I'm remembering correctly. We didn't really communicate, but video games are a universal language. Anyone understands, jump, move, whatever. It's fun. It's a video game. And when I talked to him, my parents said that, and I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then I gave him the Game Boy. I remember 2 things. One, I remember the expression on his parents' faces. They were really touched and they were smiling. They were happy. And the kid was like ecstatic. His face lit up. He was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. And then the third thing I remember is the way it made me feel. And it made me feel good because I felt the joy of giving and the joy of getting to partake in someone else's expression of joy, because it becomes a mutual joy, which which amplifies it. And I didn't intellectually understand that. I just remember that moment. It's like there's a few moments that happen, especially when you're young, that can shape your meaning of the world. And I know in retrospect too, for that kid, I was shaping an important meaning for him in the world, that, people are good, people are kind, people are giving, people help each other, people are generous, and the world is a good place. Those are the messages that are sent. And I don't know if those messages stuck with him, but I remember that stuck with me from the way my parents raised me to do that. And then I got my Game Gear like a spoiled little rich kid, or upper middle class, kid, whatever. And then I was happy with my Game Gear and didn't think about it again until the story kind of later in life, which was when I met one of my close friends, Luis, who we have matching tattoos, which will come in a little bit later when I tell a different story, not in this video, but throughout the project. And Luis was someone I met at a bar and I just walked up to him because he just had funny looking hair. He had like positive energy. He had like big poofy hair at the time. And I was like, I like your hair. You look like a comedian. What's or something. I can't remember what I said. I was a little inebriated at the time. I don't drink anymore, but at the time I was. And we were just joking around and he told some funny jokes and then we became friends pretty quickly. And the story with him was he flew out to visit me in Colorado. He was in LA at the time because we were going to work on a movie. I wanted to make my first film, which I did make and produce. And nothing happened with that because it wasn't quite mainstream. And that's okay. But I finished it. It was a lot harder to make than I thought. And we did get into a few smaller and some medium-sized film festivals, nothing crazy. But it was that was a fun project. And long story short was I told him that story when he came to visit, and because we were just getting to know each other, shoot the shit, and talking shit about stuff. And when I told him that story, because he actually, when he left, he gave me his Game Boy. He was like, bro, that thing touched my heart, bro. Like, that's crazy. A 5-year-old's giving up his Game Boy. I was like, well, bro, my parents got me a Game Gear. I mean, I wasn't like Mother Teresa or something, or, I wasn't like the most generous person on the planet. My parents prompted me, but I learned the lesson. And but it was cool, and he left his Game Boy with me because he had an old school Game Boy Color that he would carry around and just play because it was a fun like icebreaker. Sometimes when he was like at the airport or something, he would just play his Game Boy, and people were like, "Dude, that's cool. That's an old school Game Boy." And so it was like just like a nerdy thing he would carry around with him, and that was, and so I share that story because it's kind of central to like who my parents are and what they taught me. And my dad, he's not perfect. He's definitely, he was the more judgmental of the two. My mom is the most compassionate, like everyone's equal, kind of very, she definitely wasn't naive, but she was very, gave everyone a chance, was very accepting, very loving, very open heart. I really admire her for that. And then my father is one of the most generous people you'll ever meet. He always taught me generosity and, giving back, and he's always valued. He has a big heart. He's a sucker for that. He has a big heart for those things, but he's a little bit more judgmental, especially for some of the things I do. Cause like I didn't graduate college and things like, because it just wasn't for me. I got my associates, but it took me 7 years at a community college. And then I finally went to 2 years of a 4-year, and I was like, okay, this is dumb. This is not going to be relevant. And, which I'm glad I didn't waste any more time there or money, because I was, I've managed to become successful without it. And so for me, that's kind of a little bit about who I am and my upbringing and where my values come from. And so the reason I start with that, it's kind of central to what this project is about for me, because the end goal is a sizable donation to, and it's not even a donation, but essentially I'm going to be donating the dev wallet to our foundation, and which is going to be a private foundation that we start at the end of this. And the reason it's a private foundation is because it's I have another video where I talk about private foundations versus public foundations, but is the reason it's going to be set up that way is because private foundations essentially just operate in one way, and that's that they give away grants, which is another way of saying they give away money. And they give away money to nonprofits that are doing good in the world. And what I want to do in conjunction with that is build out a marketing team that markets these organizations effectively so that we can show all the great things they're doing in the world. Perhaps I could even, make some documentaries about some of these, or some long form content that really story tells some of these organizations that I'm already a part of and working with. I'm actually flying to Utah tonight to go to one of these organizations, which is a nonprofit that goes into prisons and teaches them about entrepreneurship, which is one of my biggest passions, because entrepreneurship is a way that you can break the chains of, if you're in poverty, if you're, if you're not self-sufficient, if you get fired from your job and you're just over it, you can either build a massive corporation, or you can even just be a one-man show and be self-sufficient. And being able to feed yourself is a very empowering and self-esteem building thing. I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life, but especially the past 12 years, 13 years. So I'm 40 years old now. I had a couple jobs in HVAC for not very long before I started my own company. And so very much an entrepreneur in that respect, in terms of independent and like to create things. And for me, it's been the most impactful and empowering experience. And that's why I like working with organizations like that empower others. And so for me, that's what's very central to like this whole video. It's about who I am, what my background is, why I want to make a difference, and my thought process behind it. And the biggest thing that I think about is when I look at society right now, and I look at what we're facing in terms of, it's easy to look and think the world's ending. But the truth is that this happens, if you believe in the concept of turnings, or the fourth turning rather, this happens every 80 years. In terms of, if you look at historically, there's a book by, I think it's Neil Howe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not, normally I read the Cliff Notes or read enough of a book to get the gist, and then I lose interest, or I'll do books on tape, but that's just me. But when I read that, it was interesting because he talks about, if you look 80 years ago, we had World War II. 80 years before that, we had the Civil War. 80 years before that, we had the Revolutionary War. 80 years before that, there was another war. And so when you look at historically what, that these cycles repeat themselves, it's not surprising that we are where we are right now, where we're at this time of turmoil, upheaval. People are upset on on all different issues across the board and throughout the world. It's really, there's a lot of, it's a very tumultuous time. And so part of this project is about really standing out in the space and giving people something to believe in, which I'm not saying like, oh, believe in this project, it's like the greatest thing, it's going to fix all the world's problems. No, it's just, you can either be a part of the problem, which is negativity, or you can be a part of the solution, which is positivity and actually making a difference, doing something. And so we're trying to do the latter. We want to make a difference and do something. And that's what this community is about. This is about people who take action. and people who want to see something through to fruition and really want to make a change in the world. And so when I'm looking at, this community and what's it about, at the core, it's about giving something to society that they're desperately craving, which is accountability, transparency, inspiration. We're always looking for things that are inspirational. I mean, we're overcoming all odds to achieve the goal that I have set for this organization in terms of the community and the token, and what we're really building out in terms of building a community that is an access token, and also building a community that ultimately it turns around and creates enough wealth to generate a private foundation, then funds a private foundation that then turns around and helps fund other nonprofits and put other people on that want to make a difference in the world. And then we help storytell their stories. If you're aping into this project, which if you're new to the crypto space and you don't know what ape is, it's just like a crypto degenerate expression, just in case like my aunt's watching this, because I'm letting people know about it, just to be like, hey, I told you about Odlay, don't say I didn't tell you. So she might be like, what's aping? Why am I aping? Aping just means, you're kind of almost blindly going into it, because there's no guarantees. There's not really any regulation. The only guarantee is that people would be, if something happens where I, do a rug or do something shady, they'll want my head on a stick like they did with SBF, because I'm making all these lofty claims that I'm not supporting. And so I'm in it to win it. I'm, eyes on the prize. We're full steam ahead. We're going to make this happen one way or another is the attitude I have. And so that's what this is really about. And the truth is, if you want to know, how can I trust your intentions? I mean, you can look at what I've actually already done in terms of, I have a check hanging on the wall in our office. That's one of the biggest checks, I wrote to an organization, which was to an organization called Marici, that we did that one year. And that year we actually broke even as a company. We didn't even have the money for that, but I had the money because we had made money in prior years. And that's also when the stimulus and stuff was going out, and so there was a lot of money floating around, and so we were very liquid. We also had some earnings from prior years, and so because even though I didn't have a good year that year, I still looked at it like, I have the money right now, like I can do this and make a difference. Let's do this. And we made a donation to them that was sizable for me at the time, and then we started incorporating in 2022, I believe was the first year we did it, but we did it in 2023, and then in 2024 we didn't do it because I had sold the company, so I wasn't in charge of the Christmas party anymore. But what we used to do instead of having a Christmas party where everyone goes out to dinner somewhere and gets drunk and then has to is embarrassed to face everyone on Monday, right? We wanted to do something that actually means something, and so we started doing a Toys for Tots drive where we would do a promotion where for the amount of service calls we ran at our HVAC company during that month, whether it was service estimates, even warranty calls, we would count towards those, and we would put $20 towards a toy, and then we would just add up that amount at the end of the period, and we would normally do it by like mid-December, just so we could have the Christmas holiday party, and it could be at a time when everyone could come, and we would show up at Target at like 8 or 9, and we'd go get coffee and do something like that, and then we'd buy like 10. I think the biggest year we did was like maybe 13 grand worth of toys, and then we would pick out bicycles. We'd pick out toys for little kids, big kids. We'd go to Foot Locker and pick out shoes that were expensive that maybe like teenagers who were of lesser means wouldn't be able to afford normally. And for me it was important to do that because number one, it reminded the team that this is what matters at the end of the day, is like your contribution in the world is what will define your level of fulfillment, period. It will also define, which is another word for saying, your level of happiness. If you're contributing, if you're giving back, and you feel connected to something bigger than yourself, it will make you happy. And it also puts things in perspective because you're like, oh wow, there's people out there that have less than me, like we're doing something good. It makes you feel really good about what you do have because you're in a position to give back. And I like that. And that was part of what I really wanted to build in that company. And we did foster a lot of that sense of, there was a sense of camaraderie, and we had some ups and downs throughout the years, and it's hard to build a company. That was just not my passion. And so I had to move on. That's why I moved on from that. But what we had when I was there, it was very, it was special to me. I appreciate everyone that helped me build it. Even the people that maybe didn't work out, it's all part of the story and growing pains, but that's the reason I'm bringing that up and showing you that like I've done this already, is that this is not like it's not like I'm suddenly turning philanthropist. It's like I've already put my money where my mouth is, and I have the credit card receipts to back up that I've actually done this. And I've worked with the heads of some of these organizations in terms of talking to them about the impact I want to make. So I am serious about making a difference in the world because I'm already doing it. I've already, between those 3 donations or 4 donations that we did, I think maybe $40,000 or 50. And those in 2022 we broke even. 2023 we lost money, but it was just something that we just did. I was like, this is our Christmas party, and so I don't give a fuck if we can't afford it. Like, we're just doing it. And those were rough years. But even in spite of that, it's like, we had cash flow to where like money was coming in, so we could, make sure that bills got paid, but it wasn't. But at the end of the day, if you're netting a loss, that means you're getting debt somewhere. And, but that's why I was just like, whatever. It's kind of like, YOLO, fuck it. We got to make a difference. That's more important than, let's say, what's $8,000 going to do to my P&L when we're a 3 million gross revenue business? Fucking nothing. Or 10 grand or 15 grand. It's nothing. It'll make a difference. That mindset will screw you in business because you'll just spend money recklessly. But that was not going to be the cut that I made, because that was something that was important to me, important to the team. It made me feel like a good person, and it gave me faith in humanity by just being, Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. And which, I don't know that much. I'm not like a scholar. I didn't study Gandhi or anything. I just pick out quotes I like. And so, so by joining this community and, by becoming an Odlayer and buying Odlay tokens, that's what you're buying into. That's the notion you're buying into. That's what you want to see happen in the world. I truly believe that we can make a massive difference, and the way that voting works will be explained in another video. Voting is basically, if you're a token holder, you get a vote, and people who vote are voting on how the private foundation is operating. This project is really designed to help people, help us cooperate as a community and really empower other people that are looking for empowerment. And it's a way to give you an opportunity to buy into something that you really believe in. And the one last thing, you should kind of know about me, and I'll kind of tell the story of, is my background has always been kind of in marketing. I've always been interested in marketing. And so when it comes to a meme coin or a token launch or any project or any business or anything you want to do, a nonprofit, for example, really, it's how good can you get the word out and how good can you market. And so we're launching a very unique marketing strategy. We're doing everything from launching some hip hop videos and some rap songs about Odlay. And I just smile because they crack me up. I think they are hilarious. I hope you find them as amusing as I do. And if not, at least I cracked myself up in the process. They were so fun to make, and they're so ridiculous. Anyways, if you haven't seen those yet, please check those out because they are really fun. And that's what, that's where we're at. That's what we're doing in a nutshell is, I have experience in marketing. I built marketing for that HVAC company. You can see the YouTube channel I made for the HVAC company, which I always tell people, if I could make that interesting enough to watch, because HVAC is typically a very, very dry topic, I can make anything. I started to learn and understand what it takes to make something viewable and watchable on social media. And now I'm even part of a mastermind group that has a lot more experience, a lot more views, and is widely revered in the space as one of the top marketing people in the space. I mean, the fact that I'm in this mastermind group just blows my mind. I'm blown away by them, and I feel honored, like I'm in the presence of greatness every time I have a meeting with them. And so you have someone at the helm of this that understands marketing, that's very aggressive, that's very driven to the project, that is very sincere in his approach too. And so, which you're taking that at face value because I'm telling you that. But that's the bottom line. So I hope this comes across as sincere, and you can see that I'm being genuine. But really, you are just taking me at face value. But and there's no doubt that by you aping into this project, by you, buying into the community and saying, all right, I'm going to be an Odlay token holder, you're putting me on, meaning that you are promoting me. You are promoting my status. I'm the one who's steering the ship. I'm leading this. When this becomes a success, it will be because you decided that what I said was valid. It was worthy of getting behind and supporting, and that in your best judgment of my character and based on dude on a screen, I was sincere about my intentions, and you're like, fuck it, I want to see this thing through to fruition. YOLO, buy. And you smash that buy button on Odlay tokens. And, it's like the first comments I saw on TikTok where people were like, I think one dude said, "'Tis gonna rug," or something. And then I disliked the comment, and then I realized it removed it. And so I undisliked it because I don't want to remove that. And I just responded to him. I was like, what makes you say that? I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry you've been burned. Like, I understand where people are coming from. Like, I don't care about, I understand the industry in general in the crypto space has been like about Lambos and jets and fast cash and people selling you their course on easy crypto trades and just fucking garbage, total horseshit. And that's not what the world doesn't need more of that. There's plenty of that, And so if that's what you're looking for, go find another community. You're not gonna like this, lovey-dovey, let's make the world a better place shit. But I really appreciate you taking the time to watch these videos. I know some of, it's a lot of content to absorb, so watch them at your own pace. But if you're interested in the community, I mean, that's why I'm putting this out there so you know who's at the helm of this, because I have to somehow convey to you what you're a part of. And this is what you're a part of. This is what you're steering. And more will be revealed as as the project grows and gains momentum. And I'm just excited to have you on board. And make sure you check out some of those other videos, like how we market our marketing plan, because a lot of the marketing plan involves what you do. And so we need your help. And even if you're the type to like remain anonymous because you don't want to, put your face out there, that's great. Or if you're looking to grow your own social media following, we'll give you practical tips on how to actually do that, like what types of videos can actually get more views, the attitude to have when making videos, because it's a lot of trial and error, but there is a formula to it. And it's, try one thing, tweak this, try another, tweak this. And we're going to teach you how to, what works, what doesn't work, because we're going to experiment and find out what works along the way. And we're really committed to making this project a long-term success. We'd love to have you in the community. And thanks for taking the time to check out this video.